Hello again. I dare say that most normal folk will by now have heard enough about Alex Belfield to keep them going for the rest of their lives. However, just on the off chance that there are still people who think that he has been terribly hard done by and is the victim of a vengeful establishment for blowing the whistle on the BBC and its corruption, perhaps reading what he was actually sent to prison for will reassure such individuals that although 5.5 years is certainly a stiff sentence, it was not wholly undeserved. In the description to this video, I give a link to the full text of the judge's remarks when sentencing Belfield, explaining in great detail the reasons for his decisions in all 4 of the charges of which Belfield was convicted. This is worth reading, and after doing so, I have to admit that I found my opinion that the length of his prison sentence was very unfair, a little shaken, once I'd ploughed through the whole document, that is. There were some very interesting little snippets hidden away within the judgment, such as this. It was also submitted that custody would have a profound effect on you and those dependent upon you, including 9 employees. Now, I find this more than a little staggering, and it makes me wonder just what has been going on. I run this channel single-handedly, of course, while turning out dozens of books and articles and also doing various other things. People have asked how I find the time, but I always manage to, and nobody helps me with it at all. It seems that Alex Belfield's operation, which was admittedly a little slicker than my own, depended upon 10 times as many people as this channel. I can't help but wonder what has been going on here. What were those other 9 people doing? I shall be interested to read the accounts of Champagne Sippers Limited, the company run by Belfield and which presumably employed these people. I've read elsewhere that this business was bringing $500,000 a year in, but I don't know how true that is. It certainly sheds a little light, though, on how the fellow was able to go gadding off to Las Vegas whenever he felt like it. Another odd part of the judgment concerns a conviction for stalking Philip Dehaney, who is, it seems, a homosexual. Viewers who have watched Belfield will know that he often makes disparaging remarks about homosexuals, describing them as twirlies and so on. He did this about Dehaney's sexuality. Mind, I noticed long ago that Alex Belfield also seems to dislike women and was constantly going on about fat women in particular, whom he described as big-boned. He did rather focus upon women for some of his most vitriolic comments. He used to do comedy impersonations of Diane Abbott and Carol Vorderman. And some of the things he said about Detective Constable Janet Percival really were very spiteful. He said that he thought when he was near her, he thought she hadn't had a shower in the morning, hinting that she had BO and various things about her that were exceedingly unpleasant. Of course, she's currently suing him for £100,000 damages, so it'd be interesting to see the result of that particular case. For all these reasons, I suspected that he might himself be homosexual, and so it has proved. He mentioned this when asking for mercy from the court, and the judge remarked that his actions were planned, repetitive, and intended to cause Mr. Dehaney distress and included hostility based on his sexual orientation. I do not consider the fact that you are a member of the LGBTQ+ community means that you cannot have acted with hostility based on Mr. Dehaney's sexual orientation. This, of course, indicates that Belfield is a homosexual and makes some of his sneers on this subject more than a little odd. One of the things which this judgment does make clear is that when the police turned up at Belfield's house to arrest him on more than one occasion, it had nothing at all to do with anything other than being arrested for stalking. He behaved very foolishly when this happened and managed to persuade many people that he was being treated unfairly by the police. His YouTube channel is still up, and there's a short clip on there to which I also give a link in the description to this video from March 2021. The police arrived at his house on the 25th of March that year with the intention, as they told him, of arresting him. He can be heard on the clip of film which he recorded and put on YouTube, having a conversation from an upstairs window with the police who were down in the garden, and they made no bones about the fact that he was going to be arrested. Knowing this, he refused to open the door to them. Of course, when the police are trying to arrest you and you hide behind a closed door, there will be only one outcome, and that will be that they will break down the door to get at you and carry out the arrest. This duly happened. Obviously, they don't want to give people too long in their homes when the person knows he faces arrest, because somebody might burn documents, flush drugs down the lavatory, or delete computer files, all kinds of stuff. So when someone knows they're about to be arrested, the police want to arrest them quickly so that they can carry out a search of the property. If the police say they want to arrest you and you refuse to open the door to them, they will kick it down. This is so widely known, and yet Belfield still managed to persuade many people that it was all illegal because their collar numbers were not visible. This is simply not true. There's no legal requirement for police officers to display their numbers. Those interested in this point of law might care to click on the link to which I also give in the description to this video, which is a freedom of information request to the police on this very subject. There is no law requiring police officers to display their numbers. This was just another of those things invented by Belfield and used to wind up his followers. I think that those interested in this case could do a lot worse than read the full judgment before making up their minds about what happened to Alex Belfield. However, since he is now gone from sight for at least the next couple of years, I shall not have occasion to mention him again, unless there are further developments.